Greetings, everybody. Gleekon here again as we continue our journey here into the expansion to Warcraft 2 Beyond the Dark Portal and the lore that goes on with that. So stay a while and listen to this one. We're also starting the sixth and final chapter of Chronicles called Beyond the Dark Portal. And what's cool here is that you get to see a lot of we only get to see the Alliance heroes in this picture, but you see them ready to charge through the Dark Portal. It looks like they've already come through, actually, and the Alliance is now on Draenor, so hey, tit for tat. You came to our land, we'll come to yours. We have Illyria, I think her name is, Khadgar, Terralion, our Kurdrin. I don't see maybe that's the other Gald, whatever that guy's name is, Dalgar, whatever the Stromguard guy is. So we've got all the heroes. Wait, maybe we're missing one. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, 5. I thought there were 6 heroes for each. Paladin, Mage, Ranger, Fighter, Griffin. Maybe that's it. I can't remember. I thought there was possibly one more. What would it even be, though? So yeah, we've got the 2 casters, got the mages and the paladins. You've got the flying unit. You have the 2 ground units and the shooter. That is 6. Oh, no, the second ground unit would be like a fight, like a knight or whatever, which we don't have that. Okay, so maybe it is only 5. All right, cool. And we've got that dragon. Maybe that's Deathwing up there lurking, which would be kind of neat. Or maybe that's just what the portal looks like. All right, Chapter 6, Beyond the Dark Portal. Reforging the Horde. 8 years after the Dark Portal. This year 8 is basically the year of this game. I think it all takes place in year 8 for the most part. Life after the Second War was stark for Draenor's orcs. Their world was still dying. Fell energies continued to spread, choking natural life into extinction. The demonic bloodlust coursing through their veins had not diminished, and too often orcs turned upon orcs, creating a whirlpool of chaos that threatened to drag the race down into oblivion. The Warsong and the Shattered Hand clans in particular had insatiable needs for violence, and that just makes me think of Warsong Gulch. So how does that eventually make its way over to Azeroth and develop into the first PvP zone? The closest the Horde had to a leader was Ner'zhul, the orc who had inadvertently led his people into the Burning Legion's clutches. Gul'dan had seen no use in bringing the Elder Shaman to Azeroth, and he had left him on Draenor. Ner'zhul had kept to his ancestral lands in Shadowmoon Valley. In time, Draenor's orcs had looked to him for guidance, yet leadership was not a burden he wanted. Ner'zhul had fallen into despair. Day and night visions of death plagued his broken mind. He saw orc skeletons littering a barren world. He'd even had a skull tattooed on his face, a practice shaman had long used to mark certain failed apprentices as dead to their people. Oh, so he's like really flagellating. For Ner'zhul, there seemed to be no way to save the Horde from doom. The invasion of Azeroth had been a desperate attempt to escape a slow death, and it had failed. The orcs did not have the strength to try again. Teron Gorefiend, however, was not prepared to give up. He had seen Gul'dan's plans unravel, but he had also witnessed moments of incredible power. Conquering Azeroth? Perhaps it was impossible, yet Gul'dan had gleaned knowledge from Medivh's mind, and he had told his Death Knights that there were many potent artifacts out there that were vulnerable, ripe for the taking. Yeah, that was one of the things that they had said came from Medivh. Gorefiend had 3 particular artifacts in mind. The first was the Book of Medivh, a tome that contained some of the Guardian's considerable power and his knowledge of blending different shades of magic together. The second was the Eye of Dalaran, a relic crafted by the Kirin Tor that could focus and amplify magical energies. The third was the Scepter of Sargeras. This artifact, created long ago by the Burning Legion, had the ability to open gateways between worlds. Gorefiend and his Death Knights cared only for themselves. They desired a new world that they could assert sole dominion over, but they knew they would need the Horde's help to escape Draenor. With the artifacts, the orcs could create new dimensional rifts, not to Azeroth, but to other worlds where the Horde could settle. Yet these artifacts were back on Azeroth, and Gul'dan had not told his Death Knights of their exact locations. Even if Gorefiend could rebuild the Dark Portal, he would need the Horde's help to claim the instruments of power. This presented a challenge. None of the survivors trusted Gul'dan's former allies, especially the Unholy Death Knights. Success depended on Ner'zhul. He was the only orc on Draenor who still had the influence to rally and lead the clans. So we're setting up the premise of the Horde campaign for this game, other than just desperately trying to survive and rebuild themselves. Ner'zhul vehemently resisted Gorefiend's ideas. What good would a few relics of power do? How would they possibly save the orcs? More importantly, Gorefiend had betrayed Ner'zhul in years past. He had been one of Gul'dan's closest allies. How could Ner'zhul trust the Death Knight? Gorefiend persisted, telling Ner'zhul of how they could open new rifts to flee from their dying homeland. There were countless worlds out there in the cosmos. Even a weakened Horde would surely find one to conquer. Ner'zhul slowly relented. Gorefiend's plan was appealing. Draenor's decay weighed heavily upon Ner'zhul. He felt guilt for allowing the Legion to sink its claws into his people, and a fresh start on a fresh world might be his only chance to redeem himself. He gathered the leaders of the remaining clans. Among them were Grommash Hellscream of the War Songs, Kargath Bladefist of the Shattered Hand, and Fenris of the Thunderlords. Ner'zhul was stunned at how easily they agreed to his plans. Hellscream, Bladefist, and Fenris had been forced to sit out the entirety of the First and Second Wars. They thirsted for battle, any battle. The other clans wanted war too. Any chance to escape Draenor was worth taking. Opening the Dark Portal for the first time had required tremendous amounts of magical energy. Restoring the rift to its former size would be far simpler. The bridge between worlds still existed, albeit in a diminished form. Teron Gorefiend told Ner'zhul that the lingering power kept within the skull of Gul'dan would be more than enough to reconstruct the Dark Portal. That was a fortunate bit of news, for the skull had been brought back to Draenor by Horde refugees. In the time since the Dark Portal had slammed shut, the skull had passed between orcs, traded and fought over as a prized trinket. After claiming the skull, Ner'zhul and the Death Knights began their great convocation. He could only hope that the Alliance would be unprepared. Alright, so what we've done right there is we have set up the beginning of the Horde campaign, which is where we're going to start. This time I'm not going to keep the parallel like 1-and-1. We're just going to go with the flow in the story. So the first level in the Burning Crusade, Beyond the Dark Portal, is the first Horde one is Ner'zhul uniting with, kind of subjugating, but joining forces with the Death Knights. And this happens here. Now, whether it's a subjugation or really the Death Knights are leading the charge, that's for the lore. That's for this. The game might be a little bit different. The second level is whooping down on some naughty little orc tribes and taking the skull of Gul'dan. So this takes us really through the first two episodes of the game, the first two levels of the Horde campaign. What we're going to do is go over to the orc. We're going to go over to the novel and see how far it gets us. I think the first chapter in the novel will at least get us to this Death Knight part, and it might take us a little bit more time to get through there. And I don't know if the novel does. I think it's by the same guy who wrote, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But anyway, so that's what we'll do next, is we'll go over to the novel's vision, and then we can start mixing in some let's plays. All right, this episode is in the pipe, 5x5. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft.